But the best thing with social media is just it's trial and error. Just mess up a bunch of times. Obviously, don't post anything dumb, but with all the buttons and that kind of thing, it's trial and error.
Welcome to another episode of the Waking Up to Win podcast. I'm your host, Mark Pessin, Chief Learning Officer at Realty ONE Group. Each day, we're excited to provide podcast episodes featuring industry leaders and our own industry experts, armed and ready to share timely and relevant messages designed for today's real estate professional. So today we get social, and there could be no better guest to have this discussion with than our own social media manager here at Realty ONE Group, Nima Nakshab. Nima, welcome, and please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you developed such an exceptional understanding of social media.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be on. I've been with Realty ONE Group for 5 years, a little over 5 years now, and social media is so important to, the entire industry right now. It's used basically every second of every day by everyone, and I personally have used social media. I grew up with it. My generation, it's been thrown in our face, for the last 15 years or so. And it helps me learn. It helps me grow. I use it for my own business. I design, movie posters, and that's my side gig. But, I try to bring in what I've learned from that to Realty ONE Group as well. And if used properly, it can really be an ally. So it's pretty cool.
It sounds like growing up using social media has made it a lot easier for you. And certainly some of us that are a little bit older than you didn't necessarily grow up with social media. So it's been something we've had to learn to use. In your experience working with people, what would you find to be the greatest fear or misunderstanding in working with social media?
So I find that when people try to use social media for the first time, or maybe it's like their 10th time and they're still struggling with it, it's really something that shouldn't be so scary. A lot of the apps nowadays are so easy to use. The buttons are bigger, the buttons are more clear. I think when social media first started, maybe 10, 15 years ago, when it really like boomed, a lot of the developers and stuff started creating social media apps without really thinking about user interface. And nowadays, things are so much easier. So if you're still in the same mindset that you were 5 years ago, don't be, because a lot of people have a lot of companies have a lot of people that QA these apps to make them easier for you. And I feel like I've dealt with a lot of people that have tried to use social media that, really talk themselves out of it, and you really shouldn't. A lot of the apps nowadays are a lot easier to use.
So essentially, you're not going to break anything. You just need to get in there and start playing around with it.
Pretty much. I mean, we were all forced to learn Microsoft Word and all that kind of stuff. So just think of it as another step into whatever you need to learn to, succeed. And you won't break anything, I promise.
Okay, that's good advice. So I'd love to tap into your expertise and just have you kind of share best practices for some of the most frequently used social media tools. If you would just share with us maybe your top 3 things to maximize each when it comes to Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So tell us a little bit about Facebook. What would you say are maybe the top 3 things that a real estate agent or just a person in general should be looking at to use Facebook effectively?
So I've noticed that Facebook is usually the go-to one, especially for realtors. There's a lot more out there that you can do, but if you're going to use Facebook, make sure that you have good quality posts. And when I say good quality, it doesn't just mean the content, it also means the photo that you're posting, or if you're posting a quote or something from online, make sure that the image is actually a good quality image and not something that's low resolution. I've noticed if someone posts something that's a little lower res, it gets less engagement. But if you post something that's nice and clean and clear, you get more engagement. And make sure it's interesting to see when someone posts something that someone else wants to share. Meaning, if I post something inspirational, it's going to get more shares on Facebook, which gives your page more views in the end. So maybe think about content that people would want to reshare themselves onto their own page. And usually what I've seen is people don't really copy and paste and steal your content. What they do is they hit the share button, and then what's good about that is your real estate page or your business page gets more shares to people that maybe wouldn't have seen it before. Facebook's all about community, so like whether it's your neighbors or your town or your city, wherever you're from, um, be a part of the city pages. So like if you live in, for example, Mission Viejo, California, be a part of the Mission Viejo, California, city page where everybody's posting about the latest stores that open, the latest, the hottest food place to go to. And if you're a part of those pages, I've seen a lot of realtors really grow from that. So it's important to be a part of your actual community.
Okay. And then a question about sharing Facebook posts. When someone shares a Facebook post, do you recommend that they also comment on it, or do they just, because I see a lot of people just share a post, but do you think that it's better for them to actually comment on the post that they're sharing?
I've noticed that on the Realty ONE Group page, because I manage that page along with a few other people, but I've noticed that sometimes we get more shares than we do likes, which is interesting because on my other social platforms, I usually get more likes than shares. But for some reason, I think people get so excited about the stuff that we post that they just share it, but they forget to, like a post or even comment. So if someone's going to share your post, or if you're going to share someone else's post, at least like the photo or the comment that they posted.
Good advice. And then what about LinkedIn? What would you say are the top three things that agents should be doing to maximize the use of LinkedIn? And I know LinkedIn is different than Instagram and Facebook, and as far as it's more of a networking site, at least as far as I understand it.
Right. And so actually I've noticed with LinkedIn lately, it's being used a lot more. And I think there's a fine line between turning LinkedIn into another Facebook, which I hope you don't do as a user. Don't post funny memes on there. Don't post anything silly. Keep it professional. But I think the best thing to do is to like and reply things that pertain to your business. If you comment on another real estate agent's post, or a CEO or a company that you like, let's say Google posts something interesting, whatever it might be, your comment actually goes a long way, because as people are scrolling through, they might see your face, they might see your title, they might see where you're from, they might see that you guys have two or three connections that are the same, and that actually goes a long way in building your rapport on LinkedIn, because the more that people see a comment from you or something that you've posted, the more likely they're gonna either click on your page or at least acknowledge that maybe we have someone in common that we're friends with, or professional friends with on LinkedIn. Always be aware of your network of people. So if you have someone that's a third connection or a second connection on LinkedIn, maybe there's a Realty ONE Group agent on there that is from Minnesota, but you see that they're a Realty ONE Group agent, you can add them. Um, it might build a better community, especially for our one family. Even though you might never ever talk to them in person or anything like that, it's good to have that, because that person might go and like your post that you later share. And then from there, someone else might see that they liked your post, and then it just grows from there. The best thing to do on LinkedIn also is to click on hashtags that you see. So if someone posts a photo or something and they've included a hashtag, like maybe hashtag Realty One Group or hashtag real estate or hashtag real estate tips or whatever it might be, click on those hashtags and see what other people in the industry are sharing that are similar to what that person that you clicked on has shared. Hashtags go a long way, obviously, on other social media platforms, but on LinkedIn, it's especially important because you'll be able to see the content that other people share as well.
I never knew that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, click on hashtag.
Um,
It's important.
that's really cool. I'll have to try that
Yeah.
out. Um, so with Facebook, I know that your goal, or I think one of your goals, should be to have a lot of friends on Facebook. When it comes to LinkedIn, they're called connections.
Yes.
So is there an objective to get to a certain number of connections on LinkedIn?
Um, don't go and add millions of people on LinkedIn. Add people that really, you know, are in the same industry as you, or at least the same company. So if you're a Realty One Group agent, add as many Realty One Group agents as you find. But obviously, be aware of, don't be spam. Um, that's important. But I think I've gone through and I've added a lot of Realty One Group agents or a lot of people in the movie industry if I'm trying to do movie poster kind of stuff. But it's a kind of cool way to connect with people that you wouldn't have connected with before. But don't go and add 10,000 people in a day because I think LinkedIn will block your account.
Okay. And then last but certainly not least is Instagram. And I know that Instagram seems to be growing in popularity. And I know that you're an expert on Instagram. So can you talk to us a little about Instagram and some of the best ways to use that tool?
Yeah, I actually Instagram is very important to. It's like the next step. A lot of people think Instagram is for younger people or kids or whatever it might be, but Instagram has come a very long way in the sense that it connects people even faster than Facebook or LinkedIn or even Twitter or whatever. What actually Twitter's pretty good, but it's a fast communication tool. I know it might just be photos, but people comment on there. People hashtag, they tag people. It's just a faster way to connect to people. And I would say with Instagram, the best thing to do is always use the right hashtags, because the better the hashtag, the more views or engagement that you'll get on your post. Um, Same thing goes with LinkedIn. If you tap on a hashtag, you'll be able to see all the other posts that pertain to that hashtag on Instagram. So if I tap on the Realty One Group hashtag, I'll be able to see everyone else's Realty One Group photos and everything that they've shared. Um, a newer thing that Instagram came out with was Instagram Live, and Facebook has a live feature, Twitter has a live feature, so does LinkedIn, but Instagram's live feature is the one that's being used the most these days. And it's kind of cool that you can do interviews with people. You can have two people on an Instagram Live. You can invite a friend over, chat with them, and other people and other agents or clients or whoever it might be can watch you guys engage and talk about something interesting, as long as you're talking about something interesting, obviously. And people don't realize this, but you should be posting regularly on Instagram and make sure that it's good content, not just content. So if you're just posting a picture every day for no reason, it's not going to get engagement. But if it's good content, you'll build a pretty good following.
Do you recommend that agents or just people in general, when they're posting, are they better off using a platform like a Hootsuite or something where they can go in and make one post and it goes to multiple platforms? Or should they go to individual platforms and post different content?
I think I'm the wrong person to ask that question because, and I'll tell you why. I actually really like Hootsuite, but I'm so nitpicky about hashtags and tagging and making sure to use the right tags on for a certain post that I'll go through and I'll post separately on Facebook, separately on Instagram, and separately on LinkedIn because each platform is a little bit different in the way that you can. If I were to tag Mark Pessin on LinkedIn and I posted that on, if I tagged him on Hootsuite for LinkedIn, it wouldn't tag properly on Facebook the same way that I did it for LinkedIn, if that makes sense. So I usually like to post separately, especially for the Realty One Group accounts. But if you have it, if you're not tagging anybody, or if you're going to use the same hashtags on every platform, then go ahead and use Hootsuite. It's a great platform. But if you're going to be nitpicky about it and make sure that it's done properly, you have to do it separately.
That's really good to know. And then you had mentioned Twitter as well, and I'm just curious what your thoughts are on Twitter. And I know that some people use Twitter exclusively or heavily, and other people don't use it at all. Do you think that Twitter is another platform that agents should consider using?
You know what? I love Twitter a lot. I use it every day. I'm on it all the time. That's my news source, actually. I get all my news from there.
That's fascinating.
It's yeah. I don't really watch. I watch my parents watch the news, but I really watch. I really get all my news before even the news broadcasts it on TV from Twitter. Um, and if you want to be up to date with everything, follow all the real estate accounts. Follow all even the news accounts. It doesn't have to be Fox News or CNN, or it doesn't have to be anything like that. A lot of the best news comes from the people that actually write articles and bloggers and all that kind of stuff. The best news actually comes from there, and especially the newest tips on how to do things. People are sharing videos on there. You can share videos, I think, like up to 10 minutes on Twitter now, which is kind of cool if you're trying to show a house, like a full house. You have up to 10 minutes to broadcast it on Twitter. Um, I like it a lot. So
So let's put a scenario for you. I'm a new real estate agent, or I'm new to social media. I've been in the business for a while, and I want to get into social media. Do you recommend that an agent go through and set up a Facebook, a LinkedIn, an Instagram, and a Twitter account and start using all of them? Should they do one at a time? What would be the best practice there?
I think best practice is to start them all at the same time. I know a lot of people might say that's crazy. Like, how are you going to learn all the same things? But if you have a good headshot, if you have a good, logo, or if you have, if you're with Realty One Group, you have good branding, where you can put like a header on the top, or like a cover photo, whatever it might be. Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all have header photos or cover photos that you can use, and it can all be the same. It's actually good to keep your branding consistent throughout all of them. So if you're going to start with one, you might as well just finish up all the rest and upload the same photos and headshots and everything like that. Your bio can be the same on every single one of them. That way, you're all set up and ready to go. You don't have to necessarily use them, but at least you're set up for success later if you do go back and start a Twitter, or whatever it might be.
That's really interesting. I would have thought that people might be intimidated to go through and set them all up at once, but it actually makes a lot of sense because if you do it the way you're describing, then everything's done, and then whichever one you want to use, they're already ready to go.
Yeah, you might as well, like, if you're going to have all the photos and everything, your bio and everything in a folder ready to go ahead and set everything up and then come back to it later. Start with Facebook for a few months and then, oh, wait, I have a Twitter already set up. I can start learning about that type thing. But the best thing with social media is just it's trial and error. Just mess up a bunch of times. Obviously, don't post anything dumb, but with all the buttons and that kind of thing, it's trial and error. That's really all it is.
Awesome. So, last question I have for you is one challenge in our industry is that it seems like social media can become addictive. And like all professionals, I think agents can confuse being busy with being productive. And so, what would you say is the best advice to help avoid being in that state of confusion where they're spending a lot of time on social media but not really being productive with it?
I would set a social media calendar up for yourself. So, like, you have a regular calendar where you're going to go pick up your kids, or, you have a dinner with a certain friend or whatever it might be. Set up a social media calendar that's separate. That way you can say, on this day I'm going to post a photo of this listing that I have, or at least you're planning ahead that you're going to post a positive quote, or a testimonial from a client that you had before on this certain date. That way you find that balance of having fun on social media and liking a funny photo that someone else shared, or you spend that exact time that you want building your business. um, I try to mix in both together, but I do have a social media calendar myself for my own business that I do. That way I can manage and say, okay, on this date I'm going to post this certain thing, and I don't get it confused with having fun. And obviously social media is fun, but you just have to make sure to keep it professional as well.
So having a calendar of when to post different things on the different platforms, that makes a lot of sense. Do you also recommend setting the amount of time that you spend on each platform, or do people not really, I mean, do you not worry about that as much?
I personally can't have that luxury of choosing when, because at work all day I deal with social media, and then at nighttime I'm dealing with more social media because it just becomes second nature. um, i do I do think that if you're not aware of everyday real life, you're not going to have good content to post on social media. So I think be aware and enjoy, like, be in the moment, especially, what's going on around with your kids, or with your community, or with your friends, whatever it might be in real life. But also don't forget to enjoy all that, because you won't have anything to post on social media if you don't live your life, regularly as well.
That's a really great point.
So,
Yeah, obviously you got to have something to share, otherwise it gets really boring.
yeah, pretty much. So you need to find that happy balance, that happy medium.
Well, Nima, this has been an exceptional episode in our series. It's timely, relevant, and educational. I can't thank you enough for your energy, your talent, and your continuous efforts to keep our network top of mind in the world of social. So, thank you very much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys asking me. So thank you so much.